Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast episode. Today, we're going to be talking about video game bosses. Love them, hate them, fear them. We are going to talk about video game bosses, some of the, most exciting video game bosses, and kind of how they changed the video game landscape and how they are very important when talking about which boss is the most, I would say, like, what makes a boss great, maybe what makes a boss bad. But we're going to be talking about that. I actually posed this question onto my Threads page on Threads, and it was like a question of what was your favorite boss, and I got a lot of responses from you guys, and I wanted to share some of those on the podcast today as we talk about video game bosses. So let me look here. If you missed last week's episode, we were talking about the top 10 video games that from my personal experience. That was a episode where we just ranked them, and that was the whole episode. So if you did miss that, be sure to check that previous episode on YouTube or Spotify. We have them on there. What makes a great boss fight? So, I think the key things to talk about here what makes a great boss fight? You gotta have that mix of challenge and fairness. Challenge and fairness is so important when you're having a boss fight in a video game. You want it to be challenging. You want it to feel different than the regular fights in the game. But you don't want it to be so unbelievably hard that it's not attainable. It feels impossible. It should feel almost impossible, or it should feel like quite the achievement to beat a boss in a game. So I think that is a really important element in fighting bosses. Unique mechanics. That is another thing that's really important. Unique mechanics, like how they move. Like Elden Ring does it so well. They don't telegraph what they're going to do. You want them to kind of be unpredictable, kind of be hard, but you want to be able to recognize their patterns. I think that's very important. Recognize those patterns to be able to master a boss fight if it's hard. The narrative significance. Narrative significance is so important because it's like the climax of any video game is the boss fight. Some video games like Elden Ring or like Souls-like games, it's not really the climax, but it is still an important aspect of the game because each one of those can be very memorable and make you come back for more in that game, or maybe try to beat that boss more soundly. The atmosphere, like I was saying, I did post a thread where we talked about the bosses, and a bunch of people actually commented on this. We had over 30 replies on the Threads page about the boss question, the video game boss question. And a lot of people said that the music, the build-up, and like how they spoke was really, really like catching, like emotionally, and it made them really like that game. It was memorable because it made them feel some sort of way. So that is why some games with the atmosphere, the boss fight may not be like, the mechanics may not be perfect, but if the atmosphere is there with the music and the visuals, it can make a heck of a difference. Let's see here. So I'm going to go through some iconic boss fights, and we're just going to talk about them. And later on in this video, we're going to talk about the responses I got from the thread post where we talked about the actual types of boss fights and everybody's input. We're going to go through each one of those too in this episode. But some legendary boss fights, I think, are, well, first off, we got to go with, if you haven't been paying attention to the ColdSpace page, we've been doing a Minecraft survival series, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been just playing that and surviving on it, so that's been great. So let's start with that, the Ender Dragon, legendary boss fight, because Minecraft is a game that it's worldwide. It's one of the biggest games out there. So the Ender Dragon is a boss fight. It's not like the mechanics are not like crazy. It's just iconic because of the game Minecraft. But for a casual player, it's more of a boss fight that they're willing to do. Now, if we go to like I don't know, like more of a interesting, like deep mechanic wise game like Elden Ring, where mechanics are really important, we could say that Godric the Grafted, which is one of my most memorable boss fights, that is a really hard one. But that's legendary because that one is like the first big boss fight in Elden Ring. And I remember beating it, but when I beat it, it was really hard. It was really hard to actually deal with that boss. But when I beat it, I was very happy and I felt very accomplished. I felt like I could beat anything in that game. But as you know, there's a lot of bosses in that game, and that is just the start of anything like that. There's, Shadow of Colossus. It's got minimalist storytelling in Shadow of Colossus, but the scale of that game, fighting those huge things, the scale is massive. And Shadow of Colossus is also a game that has cool boss fights, I think. I could go on and on about legendary boss fights. Resident Evil 4, Krauser or Saddler. The pacing and tension. It was really good. You could even do Undertale's Sans fight. Emotional. It was mechanically brilliant. It was really memorable in that way because it made you feel a certain way. So the personal experiences that you have with it are where it makes or breaks it for you. If it's something that's too hard for your liking in video games and you're a more casual player, then that may be where you like the Minecraft boss. Some people may not like the Minecraft boss at all because it's too simple. Some people may love the complexity of Elden Ring's bosses because they're so hard and unpredictable and they don't tell the challenges there. So that is where those legendary fights, it's all about the boss's design, how he talks, how he attacks you. What made the fight memorable? You got to remember what makes the fight. Maybe he says something funny. Maybe it made you sad because it's somebody you didn't want to take down. It always plays into it a certain way. And like I said, these are all legendary boss fights. Boss fights are so important in video games that have a storyline, that have a build-up. The boss fight is like a climax of a lot of games. And that's what, if a boss fight is, it might leave a bad taste in your mouth playing a video game. What makes a bad boss fight? Let's talk about that. I think what makes a bad boss fight is if it's too hard, personally. If it's too hard or if it's unfair. Some boss fights just feel like they're trying to make you suffer. And in a video game, I want to have fun. I want to enjoy the video game. I don't want to suffer. I want to mildly suffer when I'm playing a video game, not entirely suffer. So the main thing I'm saying here is definitely make sure when you are making a video game boss, if you are ever making a video game boss, and this goes for me too, because I'm going to be making video games as time goes on. I actually just got a software downloaded on my computer. A little side tangent. Just got my software downloaded on my computer, and I'm going to develop my first video game. It's not going to be crazy, but if you're listening to this right now, just be on the lookout because I'm going to start developing it. I'll probably start updating you guys when I get the first kind of setup done. So I'm just going to be working on that. I'm learning how to do that stuff right now. So I'm very excited. But anyway, back to the bosses. If they're filler bosses are bad. We don't want that. If they don't have any impact and you just fight the boss and it doesn't affect the story at all, we'd get that out of here. We don't want filler bosses. We want meaningful fights, meaningful things that add to the story. We don't want bosses that break immersion or mechanics. That is definitely something that we don't want. Immersion is so important in some games. And if you break that, it's hard to get it back. It's hard to pull you back into that game. And a mechanic, if a mechanic is buggy bosses make it very unenjoyable for a lot of people. An example of this that I have, I don't prefer these kinds of bosses, bullet sponge bosses, where they're like just taking all this damage. I don't like a boss that I have to just hit. Like, they're so easy to hit 1,000 times. I don't want that. I want a boss that I have to really like pick and choose where I hit, and it hurts them. I want to know that it hit them and it affected them. I don't want a boss that can take so many shots that I'm just shooting at it forever. Those kinds of boss fights are kind of bland to me. Quick time event only fights, they're okay. Quick time event only fights kind of kill it for me too in a boss fight, because I don't feel like I'm fighting the boss. I feel like I'm having a reflex test, and I don't love that. So it's more of a reflex thing, and I don't really love it. That's just my opinion, though. Bosses sometimes change games and how they're designed, and that is a good thing. Bosses will actually be so, game changing that they almost evolutionize gaming itself, and that is so important to have when you're in a gaming situation, because you want to see new things. We always want to see a new boss fight, a new concept. These are all things that we want, and that is all very important to note when you're talking about boss fights in video games. Personal favorites to me. Personal favorite boss fights to me. Personal favorite, Jack the Blade from Fable 1. I liked that one a lot because it built up a lot. It wasn't like mechanically a big fight, but it was cool. I liked it. So Jack the Blade was very memorable for me. The Gears of War 1 with General Ram, I liked that one because the build-up of Gears of War and how General Ram killed I think it was your lieutenant, that bald guy, stabbed him. Gears of War was very cinematic, though. They built that up so well. Let's see. Yeah. So I would say General Ram from Gears of War is very memorable. That was good. Elden Ring, I like the aspect of Elden Ring where we talked about Godric the Grafted. That was a really good boss to fight. I liked fighting him. He was a lot of fun. Let's see what else. There's got to be one more boss that I remember. What is a boss that I remember? I would have to say, what is a game that I have beaten recently that has a good boss fight? It's hard to say because I play a plethora of games. So I think I'm going to leave it there. I like the Fable one. I like Jack the Blade. And I love the Gears of War with General Ram. That one was really good too. Elden Ring with Godric the Grafted. I love that boss fight. I think it's really fun. I haven't faced Melina yet. I will face her one day. But yeah, it's hard to say, honestly. There's just so many out there. So many good ones that it's hard to say. Oh, I like the boss in Sifu. The final guy that you fight. That guy's really cool too. I like that boss in Sifu. So if you've ever played Sifu, they have like 5 bosses, I think. But Sifu has the last boss that you fight, and I liked that fight too because I like those martial arts fighting games. But this next segment, and this is a quicker episode, but I'm still feeling out how long these episodes should be. So we're just kind of going with the flow on this one, just seeing how it comes out and how it flows, because I want to make sure it's the best experience for you guys listening. And even if they're shorter, I still want to talk about it with you guys, because video games is all we're talking about in the Cold Space XP podcast. And I want to make sure that it's meaningful and worthwhile to you guys. Even if it's shorter, still good. If it's longer, hey, cool. But now we're going to move on to the community corner, where I got some feedback here. I got feedback from all you guys on my Cold Space Threads page, which is where I might be pulling information from if you guys keep giving me this many comments. But we're going to go through these comments. So I posed a question on Threads, and I said, which boss to the gaming community, I just tagged the gaming community, which boss in a game gave you goosebumps or an adrenaline rush, or just flat out was super hard for you? I'll go first. And I said, Godric the Grafted from Elden Ring, right? So these are some of the comments. And let me know in the comments on this video if you know anything about these bosses in this game, or kind of, if you know anything about these in this game that I'm talking about, let me know your thoughts. I want to hear those. So I'm not going to give the names of these people, but I am just gonna tell you guys what they said. So one person said, that spider in the Huntsman game. I don't really know. I didn't know. I had to research that one. It looked like a huge spider in a boss fight, which I would think would be really interesting. Didn't know about that one, but that was cool. Another person said Malekith from Elden Ring, and they even put a quote here. And I agree, because Elden Ring has such good bosses. But Malekith from Elden Ring, "Oh death, become my blade once more." He left a quote, and he said, "Me, eep." So that really shows that, it was Malekith from Elden Ring made this person feel scared, like, ee. And that's good. That's good in a boss fight. You want that. And he even remembered a quote, probably because he's played it that much, or it's such a memorable line that they delivered. So that is a really good boss. That's what I would say. Somebody else said John Irenicus in Baldur's Gate 2. The voice actor crushed it, stole the scene whenever he spoke, and anytime you fought him was a race against him, obliterating you with a sequence of ridiculous spells. So this boss, John Irenicus, and just to clarify, I actually haven't played all these bosses. I am just reading these comments from people who have their input about a boss. Some of them I have played, but not all of them. But from this one, it's really cool to see, because it seems like the threat of a huge mechanic in the game was going to threaten them, and it was going to be hard for them to actually beat this boss, John Irenicus, in Baldur's Gate 2. And he said the voice actor crushed it and stole the scene whenever he spoke. So that's that atmosphere that the voice actor brought to it, and that made it so much better. So next we have the Orphan of Kos in Bloodborne. Was a memorable one for me. They said, felt like it took me a whole day to finally crush the boss after learning its patterns. So patterns, mechanics, so important, right? That's what I was talking about earlier in this podcast episode, where we learn the patterns, we learn all this stuff, and then when we finally beat it, they said it took them a whole day to finally crush the boss, and they crushed it. So that means they finally figured it out so well that it became easy. And that's where that gratification comes in with video game bosses. That's what makes video games so replayable, is when we do this. So the Orphan of Kos and Bloodborne. That's when I want to play Bloodborne, for sure. Let's see. Dragon. Oh, I read that wrong. Sorry. So, the Dragon Slayer armor in... oh, yes. Okay. So... Sorry, one moment. I got lost track of what I was saying. So, this person said, Dragon Slayer armor in Dark Souls 3, I'm assuming, and the old Dragon Slayer in Dark Souls 2. I didn't know much about that one, but I still thought, hey, Dark Souls, it's probably got to be a good boss. I don't know for sure about how that one is actually, but I went with what they were saying. I believe them. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys know that one at all. Ishin Ashima and the Sword Saint from Sekiro. Now this game I've heard has been really hard. The actual Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, I've heard this game is really hard to beat and master. So Ashin, I hope I'm saying this right, but it's Ishin Ashina, the Sword Saint from Sekiro. Like Ishin himself said, it makes my blood boiled. So even here, it said, he remembered a quote, and he shared that in the thread. And that is so cool because he remembered something from that game. He either looked it up or he remembered it so much, it's memorable. That boss fight will carry with him for the rest of his life because he loved that so much. So that's so cool to see. Marluxia from... I can't remember this one is called. Some people use annotations, and I can't remember what the name of this is, but they said Marluxia from KH Chain of Memories on the GBA. I don't remember what. Oh, it's Kingdom Hearts. My bad. Okay. Marluxia from Kingdom Hearts Chains of Memories on the... I don't know what GBA stands for. But Kingdom Hearts, great game. Great game. I haven't played it. I do have a friend who loves Kingdom Hearts. If you're out there, Devin, listening to this, I know you love Kingdom Hearts. If you're reading this, Marluxia, let me know what that is. Because he loves that game, and I know he's really gotten into it. So those boss fights, they add to the game. Where it's already a great game, you're having a great time, and then that boss fight comes in at the end. It's the cherry on top. All right, next we have... somebody said here, all right, deep cut, but the big Sasuke fight in Naruto Ultimate Storm 3. I love Naruto. So I feel this one. I know it. I know I have this game too, and I played it. The music's all emotional, and the arena keeps flickering back and forth between them as teenagers and them as kids. I just never knew those little ninjas meant so much to me. So, right here, there's so much emotion in this comment because deep cut, right? Big Sasuke fight. Sasuke and Naruto, that whole storyline is really emotional, really cool to see. And I agree, the atmosphere in these games, the Naruto Ultimate Storm games, the boss fights, they are just perfect in atmosphere. They make their boss fights so well. The animes always make their stuff really well. So, gosh, I can feel that one, definitely. Next we have Barthandelus from Final Fantasy 13. I haven't played the Final Fantasy series at all, really, but I know they've made so many games, and I know that they're highly popular. So, this one, they actually said they said a negative thing, but it's okay, because that's good. It's good, to be honest about that. They said Barthandelus from Final Fantasy 13. Game wasn't that good, but he was a great villain with truly great boss music, and quite difficult. So with the challenging part and with the boss music, that's what made it for him. The game wasn't good, but the boss fight had a redeeming factor for him. So that was, or her. That was really cool to see. We got another one saying Joe Amon in Yakuza 3. Haven't played through the Yakuzas at all, but I do want to eventually. So I'll definitely be on the lookout for Joe Amon Amon. Let's see. We got how many more? We got some more here. I'm going to keep going. Another person said, hidden final boss in No More Heroes 1, but specifically on the hardest setting. You need to score roughly 1,000 hits to him, and he has an instant death move along with other stuff that hits hard. So instantly, reading this comment, I knew this person loved to challenge themselves at the highest level because they wanted it to be specifically on the hardest setting, which the game offered that. They wanted to score, you need to score roughly 1,000 hits, which I don't know exactly how hard that is in No More Heroes 1, but it sounds hard just from the amount of hits. I don't know if it's a combo, multiplier, or anything like that, but it sounds hard. And he has an instant death, which means I think if you get hit once, you die. So that sounds like a really challenging, and that may not be for everybody. That may deter people away from it, but some people love that. Okay, and then we got, I don't know what this one is. Let me know if you guys know it. GNA, and Sigrun. I don't know what that one is. So I'll have to, hold on, let me see if I can find it. Oh, okay. GNA and Sigrun from God of War. And God of War Ragnarok, they said. So those games, I know those games are good. I haven't played them yet, but I have a feeling that I will down the road one day. We got Nightmare King Grim. Somebody said Nightmare King Grim. Best boss fight I have ever experienced. And this is from Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight, haven't played it, but I haven't played it a lot. I should say that. I played like the very beginning, and then I didn't really pick it up after that. But I knew the game was kind of fun. I didn't have enough time to play it. But eventually I might try the Nightmare King Grim boss fight if I get through Hollow Knight. I thought that was a good input, though, because I've heard good things about Hollow Knight. Somebody else said, when you confront the tower in Shadow of Mordor, the soundscape is terrific. I love Shadow of Mordor. So the tower, when you fight the tower, which is one of the bigger bosses, because they got, I think, the tower, the mouth of Sauron. There's like 3 or 4. There's like big guys in the Shadow of Mordor, and the tower is this big guy with armor, and he looks scary. The soundscape is terrific. He's right. So definitely highly recommend to experience that boss fight. Duriel in D2. He's in somebody. I think the last one here. They said Duriel in Diablo 2. He's an arse to beat. He said arse, but with the little sweating face emoji. But those were all bosses that people from my thread on ColeSpace Threads, the social media platform for Threads, those are all comments about boss fights, just about boss fights. This is why boss fights are so important in video games, because they are memorable. They make you replay it. They make you, it gets you on an emotional level with video games, because boss fights in that way are very important to video gaming. We need good boss fights. It's got to be good with mechanics. It's got to be good emotionally. It's got to be good in some sort of way. It's got to be good at least in one of those ways to have a redeeming factor. And that is why I wanted to have an episode where we talked about boss fights and how we kind of just, had a deep dive. We just had a deep dive about video game bosses, which I think are very important in video games. And I know this is a shorter episode today, but this is more of a trial one to run today. We're working on to see how the podcast will flow better. And I don't want to force out information to you guys. I want to make sure it feels natural, conversational. I want it to be just me and you, just kind of talking about video games. And that is why I will ask you guys all to drop a follow. Please keep up to date on the podcast. Listen to it. Comment on it. Tell me, suggest things. I will always have the opportunity to do, where these ones, I did a bunch of comments and we talked about it. If you guys want to do one that's more formal, where I say this person said this and we put it on the screen and everything, we can do that too. That is always okay. The next episode, it might be about board games. Something in the topic of board games, because I know we're all in the world of gaming. We've been talking a lot about video games, but we got to talk about board games too. So, expect possibly a board game episode next week. And I'm still figuring out what day is the best day for this podcast to be posted on, because I want it to be more consistent on the day. But just know that I'm going to get a podcast episode out every week, as long as there's nothing major going on in my life. But yes, if you enjoyed, leave a review. Share your favorite boss fight with me in either on Spotify or on YouTube, or even, hey, when I have if there's a boss fight thing on Threads, you can go to that Thread page and tell me on there too, because that's still there. But yes, that is the end of the ColeSpace XP episode today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed your time here in ColeSpace. You got that extra XP coming your way, and I'll see you all another day.